is a pronoun? A pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. We have first person pronouns, second person pronouns, and third person pronouns. First person is I and me. Second person is you. And third person is he, she, or it. Now these can be in the plural too. The plural of I and me is we and us. Or in the possessive, it would be my and our. Okay, these are all first person pronouns. The plural of you is y'all, your, or yours, and your in the plural. These are all second person pronouns. And the third person pronouns, the plural is they and them, him and her, and his or hers, and theirs. Those are all third person pronouns. So we're going to learn all these words in Latin. So we'll start with first person pronouns. So, just like any other Latin noun, these are going to be declined. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. Singular and plural. Okay, the singular nominative of I is ego, and we obviously get the word ego. And it's me, which would be of me. Mickey is to or for me in the dative. Then may in the accusative and ablative. Okay, so that's I, of me, to or for me, and me. Then in the plural, we, nos. And if you've taken Spanish or French, this should look familiar. Nos, nos three. In the dative, nobis, nos, nobis. Okay, so this would be we, the nominative plural, we, of us. The dative is to or for us, and us. Okay, so these are our first person pronouns. Now our second person pronouns are really similar to the first person pronouns. So let's do our nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. Singular and plural. Okay, now instead of ego, it's tu. You. And again, if you've taken Spanish, that should look really familiar. Tu. In the genitive, tui. Similar to may, tui. Then tibi, te, te. Okay? You see the similarities between the first and second person pronouns. Now, instead of en, for the second person, it's vi, just like in Spanish, vos. In Spanish, it's vosotros. In Latin, it's vos. Vestri. And then vobis, vos, vobis. Okay, so once you memorize the first person, the second person is a lot easier to memorize. Okay, so this is you, of you, to or for you, and you. This is y'all, if you're in the south. If you're in the north, you write you plural. Of y'all, to or for y'all, and y'all. Okay? Now the third person pronouns. So the third person pronouns are he, she, or it. So as you can tell, we have masculine, feminine, and neuter. Okay, so we're going to do a big chart here. I'm going to do the singulars up here and the plurals down here. And then we have nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. Okay, so we call this pronoun is, id. Because those are the three forms in the masculine, feminine, neuter. So is means he. Ea means she, and id means it. So it's he, she, it. Is, ea, id. Then in the genitive, they are all eus. So in the church spelling, it would be E-J-U-S, but in classical Latin, it's E-I-U-S. And I always use the classical spelling and pronunciation. Steven, can you get the baby? Hold on, let me pick him up.
Are you done?
Why didn't you even do your job? She told you to.
Okay, so eus means of him or his, of her, of it. Okay, so it could be its, right, in English, without the apostrophe, possessive its, but I always prefer you to translate of it, okay? And we're going to learn another possessive pronoun in a minute. Eus is used whenever you're talking about something that does not belong to the subject of the sentence. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Where was I? Oh yes, the dative. A. And these are the same across. A. So two are for him, two are for her, two are for it. Then a. The should be familiar with the accusative. A. And id. Following the neuter rule, the nominative and accusative match. Okay, so that would be him, her, it. And then ao, aya, ao. Okay, so those are singulars for masculine, feminine, and neuter. Now the plural kind of follows the first and second declension endings. Ai, and aa. Okay, like the second declension, masculine, nominative plural is the I ending. First declension plural, and then the neuter rule, right? This has to end in a, and then the accusative is also going to be ea, according to the neuter rule. Eorum, which should look familiar. Earum, eorum. So this is of them, ace, eos, eas, ea from the neuter rule, and then ace. Okay, so again, this would be two or four them, and them. Okay, and then it's is, os, just like in the first and second declension endings. Okay, so this is our third person pronouns. So we've got 15 forms, 30 forms just to say the third person pronouns. A lot more than we have in English. So like I said, there's a special, we don't always use eus and eorum, the possessive one. We don't always use this one. There's one called suus that we sometimes use. Meus, tuus, and suus for the first, second, and third person. These are called the reflexive pronouns. So the reflexive third person pronoun is suus. And it's declined suus, sua, suum. Masculine, feminine, and neuter, with our second declension and first declension endings, just like a regular adjective like manius. It's called a reflexive pronoun because it's used when it's referring to the subject of the sentence. So if I say, Julia picked up her brother, her is referring to Julia, the subject of the sentence. I would use her own, this reflexive, her own brother. If I was going to say Julia picked up Audrey's brother, Julia picked up her brother, I would use eus. It's somebody else's brother. It's not the subject of the sentence. Okay? Whenever you're talking about something that's the subject of the sentence, the thing belongs to the subject, you're going to use the reflexive possessive pronoun, which is suus. And that's declined just like, just a minute, just like a first and second declension adjective. Us, e, o, o. Right? Us, e, o, o. And then in the plural, e, orum, is, os, is. And then in the feminine, I, a, aram, is, as, is. We should all be really familiar. And then in the neuter, we just follow the neuter rule. E, o, here's the neuter rule. O, and here's the neuter rule, plural is a, orum, is, is. Okay, neuter rule again. Okay, so this is the reflexive pronoun that we're going to use when we're referring to something that belongs to the subject of the sentence. Okay? If it's non-reflexive and it's something that does not belong to the subject, we'll use eus in the masculine, feminine, and neuter, of him, of her, of it, and then the plural is eorum or earum for the feminine. Okay? So those are your Latin pronouns.